Section 3, Adolescence and Motivation. Adolescence begins with a sudden growth spurt. Puberty, the beginning of reproductive capability, causes dramatic bodily changes. In early adolescence, age 11 to 14, self-esteem, the sense of being worthy, capable, and deserving of respect, is challenged. Adolescent changes and pressures often cause family conflicts. In most homes, however, the level of conflict is moderate. More than half of teens in Western cultures find early adolescence relatively trouble-free. Adolescents' extended time as students and trainees make it hard to find and form identities. Preschool children describe themselves in terms of a favorite activity. At 8 or 9, children give facts about themselves. At about age 11, children begin to describe themselves in terms of social relationships, personality traits, and other general stable psychological characteristics, suggesting changes in the ways they think of themselves and the beginning of a development of a unique personal identity. Personal identity may be affected by ethnic identity, which reflects one's racial, religious, or cultural group. A positive ethnic identity adds to self-esteem. According to Erikson, events of late adolescence trigger an identity crisis, a struggle to create an integrated and unique self-image. In Western cultures during late adolescence, young people do consider alternative identities. They try out various behaviors to help resolve questions about sexuality, self-worth, industriousness, and independence. By age 21, about half of the adolescents studied have resolved the identity crisis in a way consistent with their self-image and the historical era in which they are living. For those who fail to resolve identity issues, there are often problems ahead. Kohlberg found that the reasons given for moral choice change systematically and consistently with age. However, his 6 stages are not tightly linked to age. There is a range of ages for reaching each stage, and not everyone reaches the highest level. And here is Kohlberg's theory, the level and stage, and the age range and description. The pre-conventional level includes stages 1 and 2. Moral judgments are selfish, trying to avoid punishment or following rules when it's advantageous. At the conventional level, stages 3 and 4, moral judgments consider other people. Morality consists of following rules and conventions, such as duty to family, to marriage vows, and to country. At the post-conventional level, stages 5 and 6, moral judgments are based on personal standards or universal principles of justice, equality, and respect for human life, not just the demands of authority figures or society. There are limitations to Kohlberg's stages. As subjects grew older, they ascended through Kohlberg's stages 1 through 4 without reversing. However, stages 5 and 6 did not always appear. Also, moral judgments made in some cultures do not always fit neatly into Kohlberg's stages. People in different cultures define moral ideas differently. For example, those in collectivist cultures argue that supporting the community is more important than supporting personal standards. Next section is motivation, and this goes along with the beginning of Chapter 8. Motivation refers to factors affecting the initiation, direction, intensity, and persistence of behavior. Where does motivation come from? A motive is a reason or purpose for behavior that provides a way to see unity in the apparent diversity of many behaviors. Motivation is not observed directly, but is inferred from observation. There are 4 main sources of motivation. Biological factors include needs for water, food, and proper temperatures. Emotional factors include panic, fear, anger, love, and hatred. Cognitive factors include one's perceptions, beliefs about the self, and expectations about others. Social factors include the influences of parents, teachers, siblings, friends, and television and other socio-cultural forces. Instincts are automatic, involuntary, and unlearned behavior patterns, sometimes called fixed action patterns, that are consistently triggered by particular stimuli. Instinct theory alone cannot explain all of human behavior. The list of human instincts grew so long, from 18 to 10,000, as to become meaningless behavioral descriptions rather than explanations. Also, people display few, if any, instinctive fixed action patterns. Instincts may explain how humans and other animals can be biologically prepared to learn certain associations or detect certain sensory or perceptual patterns. Evolutionary psychologists focus on the evolutionary root of human behavior, on genetically transmitted behavioral predispositions. Drive reduction theory ties motivation to imbalances in homeostasis. Homeostasis is the tendency to keep physiological systems at a steady level, or equilibrium, with constant fine-tuning of adjustments to combat environmental changes. By analogy, a furnace is set to maintain a constant temperature. When the temperature drops below a set point, the furnace turns on to raise the temperature until the set point temperature is met, when the furnace shuts off. This theory argues that physiological imbalances create specific needs, biological requirements for well-being. In responding to needs, the brain creates psychological states called drives, feelings that prompt action to fulfill needs and to return to a balanced state. Primary drives arise from basic unlearned biological needs like food and water. Secondary drives are learned from prior associations with fulfillment of primary drives. They motivate us to act as if we have unmet basic needs. Money is a secondary drive, for it can buy things to satisfy primary drives. Drive reduction theory cannot explain certain aspects of behavior. People and animals are curious, exploring and manipulating environments even when no obvious drive reduction occurs. Some human behaviors, like skydiving, riding roller coasters, or going to horror movies, increase arousal rather than decrease it. Arousal is the body's general activation level, shown in the state of many physiological systems. Optimal arousal theory argues that people act to maintain a personal optimal level of arousal, seeking excitement when bored and relaxation when overexcited. People generally work and feel best when moderately aroused. Incentive theory emphasizes the role of external stimuli that motivate behavior. People behave to gain positive incentives and to avoid negative incentives. Both inborn physiological factors, like primary drives, and learned psychological influences, or secondary drives, influence the value of particular incentives. And that is section 3, adolescence and motivation. Our final section will look at emotions.